So, hello, welcome back again. Today, special guest, very special guest, and Danny and me, we are very, very proud to present you Abey Fonn from Impex Records. Great opportunity to learn and learn about our favorite hobby. Abey, so pleased that you are here with us. Please be so kind and introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks for the invitation, Michael and Danny. I'm Abey Fonn from Impex Record. I'm the founder, and this label was established back in 2010, and it's something that I'm extremely passionate about, releasing audiophile vinyl records.
Yeah, that's great. Passion, a passion. It's a passion for all of us. That's for sure. And when it comes to Impex, for me, Impex stands for several things, especially for, of course, beautiful masterings and recordings and editions. But your packaging is always special.
Thank you.
Very special. So you put a lot of effort into this packagings, or is it just the way it is?
No, we put a lot of effort into our packaging. I have a philosophy of I work hard for my money. And I feel like when I buy something, I want to buy something of value that when it's in my hand, that I feel proud that I bought something. I'm not one to just buy, knickknacks. And when a consumer buys an Impex Records, I want them to have the same feeling that I have from the moment they touch the record, visual presentation, the way it feels, the weight, the paper. Before they even listen to the album, I want them to have a really good feeling that they made this investment in Impex Records. So yeah. Yes, we put a lot of effort in our packaging, and we also try to be really authentic about our packaging too.
Yeah, because I started with it because one of the most beautiful box sets is in my collection is this one, the Jennifer Warnes, and it's so sturdy. So also with this messing. Danny, help me out. What's messing in
limited edition?
The bronze, I think, bronze plaque.
Great. Every detail is so beautiful on this box set, so that makes those Impex editions often very, very special to me. And of course,
I think what
the packaging is holding your treasure. The box is holding your records.
Yeah, that's true. And
I think what's really interesting is when you look at the Patricia Barber, which obviously has been reissued before, or issued before, I should say. I think it's amazing how you reinvented the presentation completely, right? You've got that centerfold that contains the track info, etc. And then on the back end, it talks about the one-step process. And there's of course this gorgeous new photo from Patricia on the front left cover. It's really nice how the team. You guys all work together to recreate this basically from scratch, which is very, I can only imagine how time consuming that must be.
Very, very. Both projects, both of Impex's new release, which is Sing and Dance with Frank Sinatra, and the Cafe Blue, Patricia Barber Cafe Blue, it's a year in the making. It wasn't something that we just did willy-nilly. And Danny, thanks for noticing that. I've been working with Robert Sliger for 21 years, and he is our designer. And before we start a process, when we look at a reissue, it's a reissue. So what can we do differently or add value? And Robert and I sit and brainstorm, and we try to come up with something fresh and new and innovative. And even if it's the same art, even just the rearrangement or giving it a special texture coating on the paper, we want our customers to be proud of their purchase. And it is a reissue, so there's a lot of versions out there. So we want to make sure that, you know, ours was worth their money.
It's not only the packaging in this case, it's also very special, I think, that you have done your first one step.
Yes.
It's also something very special on this, let's call it super vinyl or whatever. It's a semi-transparent vinyl, isn't it?
Yes, it's slightly transparent. Yes.
And what makes this, I've always heard that it is very difficult to produce. Do you have some insight, some facts about that? What makes it so difficult to produce these vinyl sorts?
Well, Cafe Blue is Impex first one step. Mm-hmm. And I waited a little while to release our first one because I really wanted to understand the process well and make sure when we do it, we do it right. You know, there's a lot of great one steps out there already. One step is a very unforgiving process. It's not a new process, but it's been recently reinvented, kind of like re-energized, and it's been out a couple of years. What makes it very unforgiving and difficult to manufacture is, and I'm going to do the best I can to explain. When we're done with mastering, we cut a lacquer. From the lacquer, it gets sent to the pressing plant for plating. From there, we create a father. The father creates a mother, and the mother creates stamper. I call the stampers the kids. As long as the mother is healthy, she can have a lot of stampers. And it's the stampers that makes the records. And in order to see how the potential outcome of the record is, you know, you can make test pressings from the stampers. We can listen to it and say, oh, it's ticky, it's got non-fill, there's broken groove, make new stampers, or let's clean the stampers. With the one-step process, it's what we call a pass or fail. You go from lacquer to like this converter. You create this, it's ultimately a stamper. And then you can't make multiple test pressings. You can't really check to see the condition of the stamper. You have to know that when you cut the lacquer, from lacquer to plating, the process is impeccable. From plating, when they create the convert, it goes straight to records. So oftentimes we don't have control of you know, say cleaning the stampers, checking for broken grooves, ticks and pops. So everybody involved, especially the pressing plant, you know, it's a very, they have to be really thorough, careful, and kind of hope for the best.
Okay, I understand. So what I always thought is that, okay, now we have this new kind of vinyl, this new kind of production process. And I see as an early adapter or an audiophile or whatever you may call oneself as a vinyl collector. Okay, now in a few years, every record will be on that vinyl or with that production process, but that won't be if it's so difficult to manufacture. So this will always be something very special.
Yes, the one step is not something they can, and also I can't speak for other plants, but I've been working with RTI since the 80s, and I can tell you with the one step, they have somebody there monitoring and supervising the one-step machine. It's not like they press and then they walk away. You know, there's someone there watching, you know, doing constant QC. So it's a very time intensive process. It's an investment. And then we are using the new vinyl formulation called VR900 from Neotech. And it's a new vinyl formulation. It's been around a couple of years, and it really brings out the clarity of the music. It just brings you one step closer to the tape, to the lacquer.
Oh, great information. Thanks for sharing those. And I would love to talk a little bit about this album, the new Frank Sinatra
Great.
you put out. It's an incredible beauty. I know, you know, I've done my top 20, top 10 videos, and it was so sad because this arrived 3 days after I've done those videos. Otherwise, this would have been so high ranked. It's such a beautiful and gorgeous recording, such a beautiful album. This is a mono, correct me if I'm wrong, a mono pressing from a very, very important Frank Sinatra recording. I think this is his first album after he got away from Ava Gardner, I think.
Yes.
He has had a very difficult time before he did this recording. But
Yeah.
this album belongs in every serious record collection, in my opinion. Beautiful, true beauty.
And I love the fact that it's mono.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful gatefold.
Thank you.
Authentic.
You get your information.
Yes.
Well made, Abey. Well made. Tell us.
So
tell us about
Abey, actually, you know, since Michael brought that up, I can only imagine that, you know, for example, that insert in the Sinatra set, that every little word, every sentence had to get approved from someone at the Sinatra Foundation or Family Trust or however that works. I mean, is that true? Is that how that works?
I wouldn't say every word, but yes, it's a process, and there's a lot of hands involved in this project. You know, besides Sony Music, whom we licensed this album from, you have the Sinatra estate, you have some of the executives, you have people from our team, and I also worked in collaboration with Chuck Grunnis, who is the historian and longtime family friend of the Sinatras. He's also written quite a few books and done several of their releases. This album pretty much came out of just, it started off as a fun topic, you know, wanting to do a Sinatra, but his catalog is pretty well mined. So we were looking for something unique, and that's always been my angle. You know, it's not just always putting a release for the sake of release. It's finding something unique and meaningful and that hasn't been mined to death. So I was, you know, talking to Chuck, and it started off as a conversation, collaboration, and then came sing and dance. And we worked with an amazing team on this album. I think that's why this album is phenomenal in every way. I mean, I worked with the best engineers, the best artists, the best, you know, printing plant, pressing plant. But this album was Frank's first, you know, full-length album after the breakup, and he was also going through a very difficult period in his life when he created this album. But you can't hear it in the music. You hear such liveliness, you know, and such control.
Yeah. But okay, so then you and your team, you say, come on, let's do a Sinatra. And then you get in contact with the people you know have the rights. This is the first step, the first contact in a way. And then you come to some sort of an agreement. And what is the next step after you have the agreement? What can I have no imagination. What happens in the next step when you say, okay, we can do that?
So once we come to all the business agreements, the next step for us, or for me, the question is, what is my source? You know, my work is only as good as my source. Mm-hmm. You know, there's no fairy dust or magic. I mean, there's technology and, you know, amazing engineers, but the source. So we look at the condition of the tape, master, minimum, it has to, if not the original master, a first generation, where meaning it's a flat one-to-one transfer from the master. Sometimes the master needs it needs restoring, it needs some work. So that's the first step. Once we have access to the master tape, we take it to our engineers that we work with, engineer of choice, And I've worked with, lucky enough, I've worked with, Bernie Grunman, Chris Spellman, Kevin Gray, Andreas Myers, George Marino. So I've been very fortunate to work with some top engineers, and then we evaluate, and then the process, the magic starts. In mastering, I work with a gentleman named Bob Donnelly. Bob and I have been working together probably 13, 14 years. He is really my partner in crime when we're talking about, sound, EQ, and he's also an avid record collector. And so we often, before going into the mastering facility, will pull and try to obtain every available copy that we can get our hands on, so we know what we're up against, what the other versions sound like, and then we kind of start our process.
So, but you
Sounds
also,
very
also
time
listen. You also
consuming.
listen, but you also
Very
listen to the originals. You listen to the originals. Maybe if there has been an audiophile remake, you listen to them too, and then you compare, or what?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I mean, and we'll take one of the project I recently did, which was Friday Night in San Francisco. Amazing album, been reissued, I think probably, you have it.
Of course I have it. Who has not?
It's, it's been done by Legacy, by ORG and many other great labels. So we wanted to hear what their versions sound like.
Mm.
And that's usually where we start.
So an interesting factoid, little sidetrack here. So I know Bob through the record side of things, right? And I've gotten so many records from him. He's definitely one of my top trusted advisors and curators, I would say, right, for records, from all genres, classic or classical, rock, jazz. Anyway, what I found fascinating is with that record, he was telling me that, I guess, so Chris Bellman mastered it, right? Or cut the lacquers, I think, for this release. I'm pretty sure.
That one was the 45, I think it was Bernie.
Bernie, okay. And I remember Bob had gotten test pressings, and he, called me up all excited. He's like, hey, come over, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this. So I came over, and something was off. Like with the first set, something was off. And then the second batch sounded much better. And he was trying to figure out, like, okay, what's going on? It's cut on the same machines, everything was identical. Well, it turns out, I guess, Bernie had made some kind of a component change in the mastering and cutting chain that ended up producing that sound that Bob wasn't all that jazzed about, right? No pun intended. And so they went back to how it was set up originally. And it's just mind-numbing to me that all of that information is contained in the record, right? And you can hear it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's that level of detail that you go through where, some box was changed in the mastering or cutting chain. No, we got to redo it. It's not as good as I want it to be, which is incredible. Yeah. And by the way, all that costs money, right? So now you have to recut it. Bernie doesn't work for free, right? Bob doesn't work for free. You don't work for free. And it's like, it all adds up. And I think what's fascinating to me is the fact that, at the end of the day, the price of the record didn't go up. It's not like you were charging, $49 before. Well, you know what? We have to recut it 3-4 times. We're going to charge $60 for it now. Right. So,
I was thinking about increasing my price.
So I think it's fascinating. I really think there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that, you have no idea about, Yeah. So anyway, a little sidetrack. I thought I'd add that because you brought up that record and I remembered it. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but it's a very important point, Danny, because I think a lot of us vinyl collectors and collectors of those kinds of special audiophile editions, we are not always so clear about the whole effort and work and time goes into this kind of production. And so we all say, why 35? Why 55? Why not 22 like the latest U2 album? But there are reasons for it. There are reasons.
Yeah.
What I would love to know, if possible, what is, when it comes to editions, the number of editions you put out, let's say in a year, what is the limit? What limits you? You know, in a way that you can't say, no, I want to put out 10 Frank Sinatras next month, because I'm quite sure nowadays you will sell them. They will get sold. So that's not the limitation. What's the limitation in your business?
Interesting that you asked, because I've been talking to my partner, Elusive Disc, on the subject of limited edition. Many years ago, I wanted to do limited edition records because for me, I was creating something that was, I didn't want to create something mass produced. I want to create something that, that had, and I'm sorry, I'm searching for my words, but, you know, we don't do a lot of titles. You know, every title we do is very specially curated. It's something we put a lot of effort in picking titles and artists. And when we do create it, we want to create something that's like special for our customers. They feel like, you know, they have one of only 3,000 in the world. You know, we're not here to make tons of them and just sell them at a discounted rate. But the demands for the Impex album has increased quite a bit, that we're often sold out really early on. So I've been talking to Elusive Disc about, you know, what is the right limited edition number? And I think there is a there's kind of like that magic sweet spot. You know, you know, we want to make sure there's enough records made so people can enjoy them, but we also are not I'm not interested in making, you know, 10,000, 20,000 copies per title unless the title warrants. Now I am working on certain projects that's going to be a global release, and that will not have limited edition. You know, Impex has a relationship, a long-time relationship with Jennifer Warnes, and we represent her, some of her older titles globally. So like Famous Blue Raincoat, you know, 33 or The Hunters, none of those are limited edition. I hope that answers your question.
It answers my question in a way, because I think, you know, a lot of my viewers and myself too, when will we see audiophile editions of Led Zeppelin again, Pink Floyd? When? And I'm afraid the answer is never. Because if a company like Impex or the other ones, MoFi, Analog Pro, whoever, goes to them and said, I want to do an audiophile 45 round per minute, super vinyl, one step off the wall, I think nobody will hear you. Or am I completely wrong? But no chance. Is there?
Well, when you're, you know, working with some of these artists like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, limited edition may not be feasible, to be really honest, because the artists, the labels, the people involved requires a certain number of units guaranteed. So it just may not be possible. It may not mean, doesn't mean that we don't want to do it. Just
no, of course not. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely.
Abey, I have an interesting question, kind of like in the context of what we just talked about. What would you say has changed the most from since you first got involved with reissues and reissuing records, you know, even back to the Cisco times to today, with regards to, you know, sourcing the material, working against, in some cases, you know, the Sonys and the BMGs and stuff? You know, what's like been the process of that change? I mean, has anything changed with regards to that, or has that, they always say, competition is fantastic because it forces you to get better and better. What's your thought on that?
A lot has changed. When I joined Cisco in '94, and we were doing, we actually started in the super analog. That's kind of how I got involved. Cisco was doing the super analog reissue. We were working with London Decca and King Records, and reissue at that time I think was more of a simpler process. Mm-hmm. Now, with dealing, the labels have changed. Let's start from there. Because there's so much. Back in the '90s and early 2000s, I felt like the world was a bigger place. We had more options. Now there's so many, companies besides the major labels themselves. There are so many other independent labels like myself who are reissuing that competition is fierce. And of course, everybody kind of wants the same pool. We all want the same titles. Also, the process have also become a little more competitive because there are only a number of plants, manufacturing plants, printing plants. So that's also become more competitive. And now in more recent times, the labels are often doing their own releases. So they're not always open to working with third parties. So unless I bring something really interesting to them, and I pitch them a great concept, or my vision is really different from what they have heard. I've had my fair shares of challenges.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but what I think is the tone poets from Blue Note. I think they widened the market for audiophile releases in general very much. Don't you feel that? I have the feeling that the world for the audiophile productions is much larger than a few years back.
Yes, yes. Well, the demand for records in general has increased last few years. People are, we have a lot more, new fans for records. But yes, Tone Poet has definitely expanded the footprints of the audiophile market. It's also released by Universal, and the artists on the Blue Note. I mean, you can't go wrong. Amazing artists on Blue Note, and then you're working with Joe Hartley, Kevin Gray, Don West. I mean, it doesn't get any better. It's the A team.
Yeah, right. But I think that's very good for every audiophile company, for every record company who does audiophile releases. The bigger the market gets, and I think the people sometimes need that time. You come back to vinyl, then you go to your local record store, grab a Miles Davis, and you are happy. But when you hear, oh, audiophile Miles Davis, oh wow, sounds even better than my old vinyl, and so I think the market for those kind of releases is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm quite sure that this is not the end of the ladder.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my interactions, with consumers are getting smarter. There's information out there, there's resources, and people are demanding more. They want more. They're not happy with just a random $20, reissue. Not that I'm saying, you can't find great reissues, but, consumers are getting smarter. I'm for one to believe that, yes, whether it's MoFi, analog production, Blue Note, I mean, we're all in the same space, and, we're competitors, but in a way I see them all as friends, because as the market increases, all our demand for our records increases, our business increases. Right. It's not like people who buy MoFi will not buy my product, or vice versa. And I have on many occasions say, oh, you know what, I don't have this, but I know who makes it that does a great release, and I refer out, and vice versa.
Absolutely right, because let's take your newest release with Patricia Barber. If you have been the first company with a one-step, and nobody knows nowadays what is a one-step, why is this one even more expensive than the regular one? You have to do a lot of marketing or work or whatever, mouth to mouth, whatever, to explain, no, this is so expensive because. And in this case, a lot of people who are interested in those kind of things know nowadays, this is a one step. Yeah, I understand. Great vinyl, very quiet, no surface noise. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
In the Impex one step, there is actually a written article or a written note. So there's sorry, the dogs are coming. You might
I hope mine comes too. So we have 3 now. Danny, you have 2. You have 2 too.
Yeah, it's 6.
I can hear them. So Casey, the president of Neotech, wrote a little bit about the what the VR900 vinyl is all about, what the formulation is all about. And Rick Hashimoto, the plant manager at RTI, also, wrote a little write-up about the history of one step. So when people buy the Cafe Blue, they cannot just enjoy it. Record to me is a relationship. It's not like, I stream music and I have CD and I listen to music from my phone too, but it's not, push play and walk away. You have to interact with your record. Mm-hmm. And so when they're listening to Cafe Blue, now they can read about the one step, the VR900 vinyl formulation that Impex is using.
But Abey, if we have you here, I really would love that you tell us something about this unbelievable, beautiful edition, the Les Granges. In my case, I have the 45 round per minute. There is also a 33 round per minute. Tell us, because this is such a beautiful release. How
fabulous.
How does that come to life?
That was a gem. That is a gem. And that album also won Audiophile reissue for 2019. The award was given by the LA and Orange County Audiophile Society. So that project, I have to give the credit to Bob Donnelly. We were kind of doing our chats and searching, and he was listening to records, and he came across his copy, and he says, "Oh my gosh, it's like, where did this come from?" And it was just such a gem. So we started talking about, and this is where the process started. After we decide what album we're interested, we have to now research, how many times it's been reissued, who's done it, any kind of history about the album. And we just felt like we, came across a gem, and we reached out to Sony Music, worked out an arrangement. And what was also exciting about that is we got to work with the master tape. It wasn't, a safety copy. It wasn't, here's a transfer. We actually had, the tape sent to the studio. Robert created the inner booklet. We weren't provided with much art material, so Robert had to come up with packaging, and wow. I believe, okay. Did Tom Schnabel write an article for that? Was there something there from Tom Schnabel?
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
I can't even remember. So I
don't have it handy.
I know Tom Schnabel wrote something for my TBM box set, but I don't know if there might be something in there from Tom.
No, I don't find his name here.
I'm sorry that I must have.
No problem. And
okay.
Am I right that you did a lot of test pressings for this one?
A lot. I think it's been a while, so my memory could be slightly faded, but I believe we did 6 rounds of test pressings.
Wow.
Not the first round, and it was like, I don't like the surface noise. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, something is not right. There's a slight distortion. So then we would pull out the original. We would look at someone else's, and we don't hear that. Let's go back to the studio, listen to the tape. It's not on the tape. So we go back and forth on, until we get a what I call a clean test that the team is happy with. And there is a team that listens to the test pressing, And I have a system, Robert Sliger has a system, but Bob Donnelly has what I call the golden system. He has 3 turntables, 3 different cartridges. So when we are listening to the test pressing, we want to know what it sounds like on a $30,000 turntable, a $1,500 turntable, because not everybody's going to have one or the other. So we want to make sure that it sounds good using various cartridges, turntable,
Oh, that's interesting.
cable.
Okay. I didn't know that, but that's very interesting that you also do this kind of tests on different systems, on different price ranges. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, Bob and I we were just talking a few weeks ago about another project we're working on, and he's hearing something on a test that I don't, but maybe because it's my cartridge. His cartridges might be more revealing. Mine may not be, you know. We both use Dynavector. I also have a Koetsu. I think he has a Lyra too, or maybe, well, I used to have a Lyra. So, you know, we have different cartridges and we share notes. And to me, that's also important. That's part of my Impex process. Isn't just listening for ticks and pops and, you know, broken grooves or, you know, but it's also, what does this test sound, what does this record sound like on various systems? Is everybody going to get that same enjoyment that we are getting when we're working on this project?
Another project.
Yeah. Yes. TBM.
TBM.
3 Blind Mice. It has been in Japanese jazz label. Am I right?
Yes, TBM is a Japanese jazz label started by Mr. T. Fuji. My father.
Answer to Blue Note or completely separated? I've read somewhere that this was the Japanese answer to Blue Note, but that may be wrong.
No. Mr. Fuji was really into American jazz. You know, he loved Blue Note. He was like into Art Blakey and, you know, Monks and Miles and Coltrane. And he wanted to create that same, you know, kind of like that feeling, vibe, you know, as the American jazz. And he started TBM.
So these are the 3 records which are inside that box set. And of course, I have to ask, may there be more 3 Blind Mice editions from Impex? Is there a chance that we see other 3 Blind Mice editions on your label?
At the moment, we have no plans for additional TBM titles. TBM was sold to Sony Japan many years ago. So the access to tapes have changed. And Cisco and Impex is pretty adamant about using original source for our reissues.
So
don't forget Green Sleeves.
Green Sleeve, yes. We did Green Sleeve, and we also did Whispered of Love by Ayako Hosakawa. And those were the 5 TBM titles under Impex.
Yeah. Michael, you have to get Green Sleeve if you don't have it.
I don't have it. Okay, I will get that.
Must have.
You can't have them all, Danny. I try to. I really try hard. It's difficult.
It just keeps growing and growing.
So how will 2021 will be, Abey? You're looking forward to it?
Absolutely. We're excited, you know. There's a lot of we can say, you know, 2020, you know, in many ways was not a really good year for many, but for us, you know, it gave us a time to reset and to slow down on our record making process because the plants were closed. So we were forced to, you know, to take our time. And it also gave us some great ideas for new titles coming out in 2021. So we have a couple of
you want
treasures.
You want to announce new titles. Okay.
No.
I have to try, Abey. My viewers won't forgive me if I haven't tried.
My partner at Elusive Disc probably would not be too happy.
Oh, I understand.
But we have some, you know, some great titles that's coming out.
I'm sure. I'm sure you will.
But I can tell you, for all those who do love the Cafe Blue one step, I am working right now on the nightclub one step.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
here,
the tape
here we have
sounds
our announcement.
great.
Yeah.
The tape sounds great. So we're really excited.
Oh, that's
Fantastic.
great. So it's not a one-time, one step. There will be every once in a while other one steps also from Impex now.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
That's great.
We won't have the number of title as Mobile Fidelity, but we will, have a few one steps out every year.
Oh, wow, that's great. Great. Can't wait to get them.
Thank you. We take our time.
Yeah, if I hate to wait, but if it makes a better outcome, I love to wait, and I think
It's
I'm
worth
not
it.
alone. It's worth it.
It's worth it. Worth it. Yeah.
So, Abey, Danny, any final thoughts? Any final words, questions?
Outstanding stuff, Abey. Seriously, love your label, love your enthusiasm for music. The team that you have is obviously fantastic, top notch, and super excited for what's coming next. I mean, it's funny. I always think like you've got customers for life, right? It's like that annuity that you build into it, because once you sample stuff from your catalog, there's no way that I'm not gonna buy whatever's coming out next, right?
Absolutely.
So which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
just can say I completely agree. Sometimes there are labels out, and Impex is for sure one of them. If they put out this title, I will get it. Doesn't matter if I know the title or if I say, but come on, it will be good. It will be good. Trust them. Yeah.
I feel like I've achieved my goals.
Yeah.
Consistency is very important. You buy the album if you like the title, but I never want people to say, gosh, I'm not sure if this is going to be a good pressing. Is this, every Impex album has the same fingerprint, the same team. It's consistent. I've worked with the same group of guys, over 20 years. And Danny's heard me say this, I like to think that maybe, I'm the queen, but I could not have done this without my team. It's all of us collaborating, working together to bring these records to fruition. And it really is a labor of love. There is no easy way around it. And if I take shortcuts, you guys can hear it. Absolutely can hear it.
Yeah, that's well put. If I make a mistake, you hear it.
Yeah, you can. As Danny says, even changing, cutting lathe, cartridges, everything can be heard, because it's what I do is transparent. But
yeah, and I think that sometimes I don't want to use the term annoying, but if I would be in this business, I would be annoyed. So I can say it. If I have a small fraction of a second on my hard labor, which is a little bit warped, and I have a 35-page long thread in the Hoffman form, not about my edition, but about this 1/10 of a second, I would be a little annoyed, I have to be honest. I think sometimes it gets a little over the top with criticism, or when you get a record and the cover is a little dented here. Oh, I want a new record. Sometimes it's a bit harsh what happens in that market.
Oh, thank you. I want to leave your listener with this thought, and I really appreciate you bringing this up. As much as, Impex, and I'm sure, many other labels, we all do our best to put out the best album. The listener has to also realize that, it's an organic product. It's not like it's a cookie cutting process that, a lot of things can go wrong. And vinyls, if you want to get really detailed, even the pressing batch by batch, there's some variation. Enjoy the music. Now, if it's ticky poppy, I understand, but just enjoy the music. There's no perfection. You can't make vinyl perfect.
Yeah. And you have to deal with the tapes. You have to deal with sometimes tapes that are 60 years old. What do you expect?
The Sinatra, this album is 70 years old.
Wow.
The tapes and maybe things are not available, and
right.
the weather, whatever it is. So, you know, we encourage people to, you know, be involved and enjoy the packaging and enjoy the music. But sometimes, you know, be a little forgiving. There is no perfection. If you want flawless perfection, get a CD, put in the CD player.
Or change the whole genre, go into avant-garde electronic from today, and you
That's
won't
right.
have problems.
Very true.
Okay, Abey, thank you so much. We are so proud that you take your time and did this for us. I hope,
No, thank you.
I hope we see us again, and there will be opportunities when you did another spectacular release and we talk about it.
Absolutely. There'll be many more opportunities. And thank you, Michael. Thank you, Danny, for inviting me, for giving me the opportunity. And I wish you both a very happy new year.
Yes.
Likewise.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thanks,
No.
Abey. Bye.